here I am to prove, I'm living proof. I am, and it's successful. And when elected, as I say, I'll be the first openly gay man in Congress as a Republican, right? Because the Dems beat us to that. But I think that just shows that everything that the Dems try to tell us is a lie. There are gay people in the Republican Party. I mean, there's a whole movement called the Log Cabin Republicans.
I get that the whole George Santos lying thing is not exactly news anymore, but hearing a video of George Santos making the accusation that, quote, everything the Dems try to tell us is a lie was honestly just too good to pass up. This coming from the guy who has lied so much that no one's even sure, and I'm not even being facetious here, what his name is. George Santos, Anthony DeVolder, George DeVolder Santos. And of course, that's just one of a laundry list of other lies, including that he attended Brew College, he didn't, that he played volleyball at Brew College, also didn't, that he led that volleyball team to a championship, also didn't, that he worked at Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, that he's Jewish, that he's a landlord, that he descended from Holocaust survivors, that his mother died on 9/11, that his mother then died 5 years later. But him assailing the Democrats as liars may actually take the cake. You gotta love too how the whole basis for his claim that the Democrats lie is that he's a gay Republican, and so he's living proof that Republicans can be gay. Now, first off, I'm not aware of anyone who has said that 0 gay people can be Republicans. But let's not pretend here that George Santos is anything other than the exception to the rule. The GOP is staunchly anti-LGBT, and most of its legislative priorities these days are in the form of attacking that community. Even when Congress passed the Respect for Marriage Act, which protects pre-existing same-sex and interracial marriages in the year 2022, only a dozen Republican senators voted for it, and 36 Republican senators voted against it. That's almost 3/4 of Senate Republicans who voted no. This is a bill saying that the marriages of same-sex couples who are already married should be protected. So when George Santos comes out and tries to pretend that there's some home in the GOP for the LGBT community, I'm sorry, but dude can fuck all the way off. I mean, Santos literally says the Dems beat us to that when he explains that he'll be the first openly gay Republican, as if there was ever actually a race. This is a party that overwhelmingly does not believe that gay people should have the right to marry their partners, and yet this guy has the audacity to claim that there's some equivalency between the left and the right on LGBT issues? If you didn't think Santos was deluded before, you probably should now. And by the way, that delusion and pathological lying is probably why Santos is currently facing calls to resign from every angle. Here's the Nassau County GOP holding a press conference to demand that the congressman of their own party resign his post.
George Santos' campaign last year was a campaign of deceit, lies, and fabrication. He deceived the voters of the 3rd Congressional District. He deceived the members of the Nassau County Republican Committee, elected officials, his colleagues, candidates, his opponents, and even some of the media. His lies were not mere fibs. He disgraced the House of Representatives, and in particular, his fabrications went too far. Many groups were hurt. Specifically, I look at those families that were touched by the horrors of the Holocaust and feel for them. He has no place in the Nassau County Republican Committee, nor should he serve in public service, nor as an elected official. He's not welcome here at Republican headquarters for meetings or at any of our events. As I said, he's disgraced the House of Representatives, and we do not consider him one of our congresspeople. Today, on behalf of the Nassau County Republican Committee, I am calling for his immediate resignation.
Even current members of Congress have weighed in. Here's current Republican Congressman Anthony D'Esposito reiterating the Nassau County GOP's calls.
So I join with you, and I join with my colleagues in saying that George Santos does not have the ability to serve here in the House of Representatives and should resign.
Another GOP congressman, Nick Langworthy, piled on, saying, quote, I support the Nassau Republicans' decision today to request the resignation of George Santos. It's clear that he cannot be an effective representative, and it would be in the best interest of the taxpayers to have new leadership. I will continue working with our local elected officials to ensure that trust and dignity are restored to the 3rd Congressional District. And the New York State Conservative Party chair joined in, saying, the New York State Conservative Party stands with Nassau County Republicans in calling on newly elected Representative George Santos to resign. Mr. Santos' profound use of of mistruths as a candidate morally disqualifies him from serving in public office and exposes him to potential legal action, seriously compromising his ability to represent his constituents. It's my hope, and the hope of Nassau County Conservative Chairman Daniel Donovan, that Mr. Santos will voluntarily tender his resignation out of respect for the public and the institution to which he was elected under false pretenses. We're also hopeful that Mr. Santos will choose the redemptive path going forward that begins necessarily with his resignation. Now, Santos, for his part, has responded to the calls to resign by defiantly refusing.
Will you step down?
I will not. Guys, we're gonna need a little space here.
New York Republicans are calling you a disgrace. You will not resign?
Pardon me?
What is your response to New York
Congress is trying to get in the
Republicans?
elevator.
He also took to Twitter, writing, "I was elected to serve the people of New York's 3rd Congressional District, not the party and politicians. I remain committed to doing that and regret to hear that local officials have refused to work with my office to deliver results to keep our community safe and lower the cost of living. I will not resign." Now, let's just be honest here. Santos isn't going to resign. At least, I don't think so. And frankly, anyone shameless enough to pretend that he was descended from Holocaust survivors when he wasn't is not going to be shamed into doing the right thing here. If these Republicans were actually serious about getting Santos out of Congress, though, they'd put pressure on Kevin McCarthy, considering he's the one who would be able to call for an expulsion vote. And when it comes to Kevin McCarthy, no one ever lost money betting on him taking the most cowardly route possible. So to the surprise of no one, Kevin McCarthy came out and said this.
County GOP called on him to resign today. Does that affect your thinking at all? What do you intend to do about Congressman Santos?
I try to stick by the Constitution. The voters elected him to serve. If there is a concern and he has to go through the ethics, we'll let him move through that. But right now, the voters have a voice in the decisions, not where people pick and choose based upon what somebody's press has.
Would you,
so he will continue to serve.
are you going to take any action against him at this point? Are any of these allegations acceptable to you?
What are the charges against him?
Well, I mean,
is there a charge against him? You know, in America today, you're innocent until proven guilty.
And look, I'm no expert here, but I would presume that the charge being levied against George Santos is that he misrepresented himself on a daily basis on the campaign trail, and voters cast their ballots for someone who doesn't even exist. Just, you know, for starters. In reality, the reason for McCarthy's fecklessness is obvious. If Santos were to resign or get expelled from Congress, there would be a special election in a New York district that could flip to the Democrats. New York's 3rd Congressional District is by no means a safe red district. And after the humiliation that is being represented by someone like George Santos, it wouldn't exactly put the Republicans in a strong position heading into the next election. And because McCarthy stands for nothing but his and his party's own grip on power, it is highly unlikely that he would do anything to put that in jeopardy. Remember, this isn't principles or values or governing that drives Republicans. It's control. Now, I've made this point before and I'll make it again. Regarding those few Republicans who have come out against George Santos, they're not angry that he's a liar. They are angry that he got caught because it just reaffirms the fact that so many people within the GOP are incapable of telling the truth. The problem with Santos isn't that he's some aberration in the GOP. The actual problem is that he's too obvious of a reflection of exactly what that party represents. George Santos makes it easier for everyone who calls the GOP a party of liars, cheats, and thieves to have yet another person to point to, and that's what Republicans hate, because it shows everyone exactly who they are. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.